Hi, how are you? We're not well, thanks for asking. Drew Franklin here with Tyler Thompson and Jack Pilgrim with a sad rapid reaction, the final rapid reaction of the 2022-2023 Kentucky basketball season as the Wildcats are going home from the second round of the tournament, having just lost to the other Wildcats with the similar logo, Kansas State, 75-69. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened during the game that went wrong and a lot of what happened afterwards. Mostly in the game, the story is Kentucky could just not buy a basket. Shooting was worse than bad, mostly with Antonio Reeves. Jacob Toppin could not find anything. Kentucky struggled throughout. Oscar had his big day with 25 and 18, getting plenty of points. But Tyler, it's really the story is the three-point shooting, and Kentucky could not buy a basket.
Yeah, I mean, Antonio Reeves has carried Kentucky offensively so many times this season. I mean, look at the first round game, and I think we saw what happens when he's just not hitting it. He was 1 of 15 from the floor today. He hit his first three with 6.3 seconds left, and it was so bad at that point, I actually felt a little bad for him because that had to be a weird feeling. You miss, let's see, he was 0 of 9 before hitting that, so just a brutal night. And then Toppin, 1 of 7, so you had Toppin and Reeves going for 2 of 22. That's not a winning formula.
You know, we've complained a lot about this offense this season, and rightfully so. It's been bad at times. Been very hard on Calipari. I've been very critical of Calipari, but this is one of those nights, Jack, where it ain't on him. There's some things he could have done better into the first half. We want to nitpick. Credit to him in the press conference. He said he should have left Oscar in the game. He takes them out. Kansas State goes on a 4-point run. They take the lead. So things he could have done better, but really he can't make the ball go in.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the story of it. The fight was there. The energy was there. They responded after, like we said, the last terrible close of the first half. That's when Kentucky has really struggled, that last segment of the first half and then opening the second half. They responded, retook the lead, got an 8-point lead, and the better team made the shots when it mattered most, when Kentucky just couldn't get anything to fall. The shots were there. The opportunities were there. Antonio Reeves was wide open on so many occasions and just could not get the ball to fall. We got Cason Wallace and Chris Livingston really put forth unbelievable efforts. How often do we see, freshmen in that moment step up when your veterans aren't stepping up? It's just one of those deals that it's a tough, sobering reality that the better team won today.
They really were. And the two things Kentucky struggled with, turnovers and three-point shooting, are exactly what Kansas State does. They're top 10 in both, forcing turnovers and defending the three-point line. So, yes, we're disappointed Kentucky turned it over, didn't shoot it well, although some of those were wide open. But really that's what Kansas State does, especially those turnovers. Tyler, we do need to talk about Kansas State's point guard, a name I warned everyone about on the pregame show. Guys, that's not unique. Kentucky didn't just get schooled by him. He does that to everyone. He went down to Texas and Baylor in 1 week on the road, at Texas, at Baylor. Two pretty good teams. Scored a combined 66 points. What am I calling him? Howell. I can't say it. He had quite the game. Cason, though, matching it with him. But, I mean, let's be honest, in a losing effort, that was like a Kimba-like NCAA performance that they're going to be showing on the highlights forever.
Well, yeah, and he was talking about how he looks up to Kimba in the post-game press conference. That kid is fearless. Marquise Noel.
Yeah, why am I calling him Hal? I know his name. I'm struggling over here. I'm hurt, Tyler.
It's a tough night, but it's okay. It's not a tough night for Marquise Noel. He is going to be one of the darlings of this tournament if they continue to make a run. But, that's just not fun to see that on the opposing sideline. Some of those threes he hit were insane. Like, just no hesitation. You can see why he looks up to Tyler Ulis. I want to stop saying nice things about him because he beat us, but, man, if he were on our team, we love him.
He was shooting the finger guns at our bench, rubbing it in, and then I get so excited, he passes to the tall dude that's 3 feet behind the three-point line. Of course we want that guy shooting it. I even turned to Matt on press row, said, yes, please, sir, you take one, and the guy hits it. It's just, that was Kentucky basketball right there, the way. Even Kansas State didn't shoot it well, but at the end, they had the shots go in. Really, that's the whole story. Let's move on to the reactions. And, Jack, you had the unfortunate assignment of going in the Kentucky locker room. For you all at home, it's the worst, where you have to go interview these players, and they're crying. It's moments after they just lost. Tyler and I were with Cal. You were in the locker room. Just how bad was it?
It was probably a moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life doing this job, just going in there, complete dead silence. Oscar Tshiebwe turned away from his teammates, turned away from the media, looking at his own locker in just dead silence for 5-6 minutes, media piling up behind him, ready to ask, what are you going to do next, Oscar? What's your legacy as a Kentucky Wildcat? And him just not being ready to take those questions on, not being ready for that moment, answering those very, very difficult questions that he shouldn't have had to answer this early. I think there's a reality that set in that this was probably his last time wearing a Kentucky basketball uniform, and he just kept stressing once he finally turned around and said, I came back to win number 9, and I feel like I let my fan base down, I let my teammates down, and it's really tough for a dude that is as beloved as Oscar Tshiebwe to see him in that absolute vulnerable moment that he shouldn't have had to deal with. And there was a moment while he was facing away from the media and looking toward his locker that at 4.5 minutes into his silence, Ugo walks up to him and kind of whispers in his ear, and he later revealed that that Ugo told him that there are a lot of people that need to hear your voice right now, that need to hear your statement and calm the nerves, set the tone of the fan base. And for a freshman who has played little to none all year long to go up to his mentor, it's just a big kind of powerful picture moment that happened that not really glad that I got to see that.
Well, we're glad you got to see it so you could tell it, because it did sound like a big moment. And it is, we're still fresh. The game just ended. So we're mad at balls not going in, calls not going ways, rims being weird, floor being slippery, Kansas State's guards being awesome. Tomorrow we'll wake up and there'll be conversations to have about having a 2-time All-American and just an awesome human like Oscar, and how his legacy will be remembered, because not to his fault, his teams just didn't get past this second weekend. We'll talk about this season as a whole. We'll talk about what could have gone better from the start. But for right now, we're bummed of how it went down 100 yards from us. Tyler, we were excited to go to New York. That's not happening. You hanging around Greensboro, and what are your overall thoughts as we say goodbye? It's almost, for me, it's like I'm hurt that I'm not surprised by it. Like, I'm hurt that they lost, of course, but I also have this other pain of like, well, yeah, of course they lost, because that's how this team has been.
It just feels kind of numb. Before the game we were talking about, well, should we book our flights to New York in case? Some of us booked our flights to New York.
It was refundable.
But yeah, I'm disappointed that Kentucky's not going to go to the Sweet 16 in New York. That would have been a really, really cool moment. But at the same time, I'm not surprised this is where the road ends. This team has been wildly inconsistent this season. Ultimately, that's kind of what ended their season. I'm glad that the worst case scenario didn't happen, that Kentucky didn't lose on Friday night to Providence. Another first round loss would have been devastating and would have made the offseason miserable. But that didn't happen. They got to the round of 32. Is it what we wanted? Absolutely not. This team came in with Final Four expectations, top 5 preseason team. There's no way to put a bow on this and spin it and have it be happy. But those conversations will linger for at least another couple months. For now, I'm disappointed we're not going to go to New York. I thought we had some fun energy going. We were talking about TikTok games and all that, but it's just how it happens sometimes.
I think that's how this team was for me, because before the Providence game, I didn't think they'd lose, but I didn't feel good. I didn't have this big belief and this excitement. And then, of course, they go and win. Played pretty good. But this game, it was like, all right, I'm excited. Where's the Final Four again? Do I have my hotel yet? I think it's on. And every time we did that with this team in the regular season is when they'd come out flat. When we give up on them, they'd surprise us and have a big win. Happened many times. But right when we'd get our belief behind them, it's a disappointing effort. And Jack, you covered this team closer than anyone. What are your final goodbyes as we sign off from Greensboro here way too early as we anticipated a longer run?
Yeah. I just feel for the guys in that locker room that have really difficult decisions to make coming up. That this isn't we're going to be sad for a couple of days and then we get to declare for the NBA draft and be top 5 picks. Like, there are a lot of guys on this team, C.J. Frederick, even Jacob Toppin, who was trending in the right direction. Draft status-wise, he has a really tough decision to make. C.J. Frederick, as vulnerable as I've heard a kid talk, emotion, crying, almost sobbing in his locker afterwards, saying, I played basketball for 5 years. My body is breaking down. I don't know how much left I have in the tank. Very real chance that I decide to hang it up completely. So I feel for those dudes that I think there was a genuine feel all season long that it was the breakthrough was going to happen and the run was going to happen. And it's what Cal continued to talk about and say, forget about Georgia, forget about South Carolina, the stupid losses that happened in the regular season. When push comes to shove, we'll take care of business and we will have that redemption, we'll have that reward. And for that rug to be ripped out from all of their collective feet, I think that's just a really sobering reality where it's like, CJ very well may never play a college basketball game again, and this will be the lasting memory for him. So Antonio Reeves, what does he do? Brennan Canada, I mean, random guys that still produce in their own individual ways, whether it's in practice or whatever, for this to kind of be their lasting memory. Cal said that if it was his gut reaction right now, all 6 seniors decide to leave after this season. So that's a lot of impactful pieces over the course of several years for this program that could be a very tough several weeks in terms of player decisions.
Now, we'll learn their future soon, but we know for right now it's the end of the road for this team. They got Marquise Noel by Kansas State. Got his name right this time. Sorry about that for earlier. But this is the end for Kentucky in the second round at the NCAA. No meeting Tennessee and New York, no Final Four. We're saying goodbye to the 2022-2023 Wildcats and to you all for the last time from the Rapid Reaction this season. We're sad and headed home. We'll pick ourselves up and keep going. We got football coming up, and next season, I guess we got to talk about that too. But for now, it's goodbye from Greensboro and the end of this year.